49 minutes after the hour. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Storm Talk on this Tuesday, the 19th day of August. Yes, it is Wave Day at the Kentucky State Fair. Several of our crew already are out the building now, on the way there to the South Wing to say hello to some of you. And then I'll be out there after the noon show today. I'll be heading out and spend a little bit of time this afternoon with you guys. Kevin will be out there as well. Now, Kevin and myself will be kind of roaming all over the place. So the best time to catch us again is going to be roughly that 1 to 2, 1 to 3 o'clock window. After that, apologies in advance because we may be running around everywhere, but we also are going to be live doing several things at the same time. So we don't want to appear too distracted to you guys. But just want to let you know that's where we're going to be at. And I hope you guys have a chance to come out. This is year 15 for me, so excited to see some of you, and some of you always get a photo every year, so I'd always wonder what that collage would look like. No doubt I definitely had black hair. I was skinnier, but I also had black hair, less wrinkles. Yeah, I can only imagine. I probably look like 12 being the first days of the fair. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Several items to kind of fine-tune today. Yesterday we kind of hit on several of the bigger ones that I wanted to get out. Make sure we at least get the topics out. That's always important to me on a Monday, is get the topics addressed, and then we just fine-tune through the week, right? And I alluded to a week ago, I believe it was, about a fall outlook, and I am hoping to get that done this week and maybe next week. Don't be mad, but I'd like to try to get it out before September. That's my goal right now, as it does feature different storylines. That's the reason why it's taking a little bit of time. And I haven't even started on the winter outlook. I actually start that right after I'm done with the winter or the fall outlook. I start on the winter forecast September 1st. Yeah, we're all second this year because Labor Day. But still, I'll be working on it very, very soon, guys. And I know you're going to say, come on, give us a teaser. Well, what's the point? I can't do that. Got to get you guys to tune in for Halloween. Plus, I don't really know yet. Fair, right? 34 days in counting until we get to the autumnal equinox. I say that every day, and I've never messed it up until today. The autumnal equinox coming up on 34 days from now, Monday the 22nd. Hey, you won't be here before long, you know it. All right, so here's a live look right now. The quiet throwaway. Obviously, this will pick up at 3 o'clock today once kids get out of school. And we will be, again, here's the north wing right there. We're over to the, whoop, I don't know why that's popping up. We're going to be over here to the right-hand side. Let's see if it'll draw. There we go. Over here to the right-hand side. You should see the storm tracker. I think the storm tracker is like right over there against the building. So pretty easy to find us. And it's air-conditioned. That is a really good thing because, yep, we have a heat advisory out today for roughly around Louisville and points west for just at least touching 105 for an hour or two. It's right on the borderline criteria for our area. A little more likely, actually, for areas just on the western and southwestern side here of wave country. So from Jasper to Litchfield and points west, you guys have been close to that the past few days. And while the rest of us really haven't gotten to that level yet, but today, if there's any day that could do it, it would actually be today to spill a little bit more, a little closer as well into the Louisville metro. So that's why they decided to go ahead and go with a heat advisory. But this is it as far as the hottest SC, not only in the next week, but so far the hottest SC in the 10-day. Is it the hottest SC in the overall outlooks here, looking all the way into September? Not quite. Not quite. There's a little bit of a teaser for autumn. We'll circle back to that on a different day, right? Rainfall amounts yesterday, that outflow did drop down real close to Lawrence County and Jackson, but just wasn't enough to give you guys any rainfall. So majority of you, in fact, 99.9% of you saw nothing yesterday. So where do we go from here? Well, today it's all about that outflow we talked about yesterday. It would be moving in and settling somewhere. Where would that be? The graph model had it way over here, roughly around, I think it was noon, 2 o'clock. The HER model is a little slower with that, a little further north. Here's the outflow itself. Let me see. I think I have a different view of this. Yeah, there we go. Look carefully. You can see where the boundary is right there. It's going through Jasper all the way into Seymour is the arc. It's fading away, but it has stopped. So that's one area that we may get some scattered development. Otherwise, the secondary boundary, which is actually the front itself, is located right in behind that from around Indianapolis down through the Wabash. This is likely going to be the main one that will fire for wave country today. I already see a few hints of clouds right there, the last couple frames where that one may pop. So again, two different areas to watch. One would be especially north and east of Louisville around Madison and Seymour. You may get an early afternoon downpour that could pop with that first outflow. Otherwise, for the rest of us, it will be with the second one. And here's the deal. The second one's going to take some time to get here. It could be another 12 hours before we see the impacts of that into much of wave country, including Louisville. So the majority of the day is all about the heat and the heat index being up there. As far as the severity goes, here's the entire zone here as far as the front. Again, it's not very impressive, right? Again, shear with this is lacking. They decided to go ahead and go with the marginal risk yesterday for this event today. It may have that appearance of being organized because they'll be in a little bit of a linear fashion because of the front, but I wouldn't get too worked up on the severe risk here. One or two warnings, of course, that can happen, and that's more pulse severe, where they produce the downdrafts. When they collapse, that's where I think the danger will come in as far as a gust of wind. But yes, a lot of lightning will take place with these. So if you hear that thunder, get inside. That same rules always applies, but certainly today with everyone being out trying to beat the heat, if you hear that thunder, get indoors there, all right? So a little more active today than we've seen in the past several days, so that's why it's getting a little bit more attention. Any questions I can answer on that before I get into the Futurecast on that one? Who was first, by the way? Was it Ryan? Yeah, Ryan Adams. First on YouTube today. Congrats, Ryan. Good morning to Blue and Crispy's here. We got Amy here. Nancy, rain tomorrow. We'll cover that. I'll show you that in just a second. Good morning, David and Wyatt. Angela, I haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing well and hope you're ready for winter. I know you are. Hello to Alberts. Hello, Adam, up there into Bloomington. Waddy, Kentucky. Hi, Sarah. And Reagan is on as well. Okay, all right. Marion County, yeah, Margaret. I'm hoping you get something there into Marion. You guys have just been struggling, right? Today is sample day, by the way, for the drought index that will come out on Thursday. Today's the day they're sampling. So given the idea the rain's not arriving until tonight or this evening, today will factor in for the drought index on Thursday. It will not factor in the rain tonight. So it would be what's happened since last week on Tuesday, which not much has happened. So I fully expect the area of low-end drought status likely to expand a bit more there into southern Kentucky, and could even show up in parts a little closer to Louisville too. Wouldn't surprise me. But it should expand. We'll see. We'll find out on Thursday. I hate that there's a delay there, but that's how it all works. All right, your severe risk, again, very minimal here today, just low-wind stuff, roughly along the boundary itself. I think it's fair to say Indiana and along the river. And the reason why it doesn't go further south than that is that at that point you're already at midnight by the time it gets to this part of Kentucky, down into where Margaret is. And there's not a lot of heating left of the day, right, to really keep them going. So they will continue to decrease in the trends. So there's not as much of a worry. It's when they're maxed out and it's the heating of the day type of setup. It's got to be the overlap of the two ideas. That's when you have a chance to get some stronger pushes of wind. But majority of them will not be to that level. But they could have some beneficial rain. I think PWatts, or the amount of moisture in the air, precipitable water, we call that PWatt, that gets to roughly about 2 inches. That's decent. That's decent. They'll be moving enough to prevent any flash flooding issues, but you could get some spots could get an inch of rain out of these later on today. So fingers crossed, Margaret. All right, so here is just our in-house model. They're all a little different on the storyline. It's normal when you don't have anything that's fired yet. They kind of have different theories, especially on where they think the boundary is. But overall, I think this is fair. I think the heat's the big story this afternoon, mid-90s. We get into this evening. That is when the front will get closer to us. That's when the storms will fire across Indiana and then drop down over the river. And look at the time period. It's showing like 10:30 at night. They're just now moving into Louisville in that 9 to 10 o'clock window. So that means a good chunk of the day will be very quiet for you guys. You get into evening, you may see some lightning in the distance, probably some tall cumulonimbus. You may see those right at sunset. So sunset may actually appear earlier for some of you in Indiana and around Louisville, because the thunderstorms in the distance will be tall enough to block the sunset. So it'll look like it's about to storm or it's getting overcast. So yeah, that will shave off your pretty sunset window, unfortunately, because of how tall they're going to be. They're going to be blocking it. But anyway, but that's also a sign. If you see that happening, then you know something is over the horizon. You know there are thunderstorms there that are doing that. If you have a bright, sunny sunset, either they didn't form or they're way too far away to be tall enough to reach them blocking your view there, which I don't know if it's good or bad for you, depending on if you need the rain or not. The front sags through here, not in a very organized fashion, very, very clumsy. It moves in, it gets stuck over us, basically over across Kentucky, really during the day tomorrow. And to answer your question, Nancy, about the rain tomorrow, it's mainly going to be for Kentucky, and I think I-75 east is a little more likely. The moisture will lag a bit because we're waiting for Erin to do the turn. We'll cover Erin in a second, but once Erin does the turn, then the humidity levels will drop in stages for the rest of the week. Each day will be just a smidge lower. It's still going to be hot in the upper 80s to around 90, but it won't be as humid. So it actually will recover at night. We'll actually get our lows back. We'll take it back from the summer mugginess that we've had. All right, we'll get our overnight lows back into the lower 60s, even with hitting 90 during the day for the end of the week and the weekend. So there is it's a different type of heat, really, a dry heat coming our way for the end of the week and the weekend. So really not a bad setup for, if you've got weekend plans, it's actually looking really nice. So plan and coordinate. It's got a mix of everything, you know, hot enough during the day to where you can still get in the pool, and then cool, and not overly cool, but refreshing to where you can enjoy the evening without sweating so much. So if you can't make it out to the fair this weekend, it's probably going to be a really good setup too for the fair. And the last weekend, of course, too. Okay, so that's the storyline to get you through that. Let me show you CSU's severe risk for today. You guys love these maps. We don't show them very often because it's the doldrums of summer here. Yes, it does show a very low and severe risk. And if you look carefully, I didn't zoom in, but there's one tiny little yellow dot in southeast Indiana today. I thought that was interesting because it's near Madison. If you look carefully, right there, I can't even draw it, to be honest. Right in that circle, look in there. But anyway, that would probably be the first outflow boundary, to be honest, the one I drew that's on the map now. Maybe one of the reasons for that. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Anyway, we're not in the yellow. Widespread yellow anyway. That's good. It's all low end. Everything matches just fine there. Okay, so let's get into Erin real quick, and then I'll come back around to the longer term because I know that's really why you're here. As I mentioned yesterday, we have the multiple waves in the distance, so it's easy to pick out Erin, but we have, I believe it is 99-L. I think is the identifier now on this one. I'm not sure if they put the identifier out. I think they did. And that's just where they can start tracking it as a marker, and then it gets named later. But I think it's 99-L. And there's another one, you can barely even see it entering the visible satellite because it cuts off near the coast of Africa, but there is another one behind it. This one right here in the middle has been upgraded to 60% chance of surviving to be able to produce something organized as it heads west. But there's a big asterisk on that. We'll come back to it. We're coming back to a lot of things in just a few minutes. All right, here's Erin. I'll tell you what, Erin, it doesn't look as impressive today. It's definitely battling some dry air on the northern northwest side, a little bit of shear as well, a little more lopsided. It's not as much of a buzzsaw. It looks like the center would be like right here. It's not. The center is actually right here. Let me get rid of my pen so you can see. Yeah, the center is right in through here. So it's not as symmetrical looking with the showers and thunderstorms. So it's down a bit on its intensity because of that. You really see the dry air entrainment into this on the northwest side there. So that should be temporary, but it's not enough to weaken it to where it falls apart completely. I think it will just fluctuate now. It'll kind of bounce around. And because of the thresholds of the wind speeds, there's times it may go back up to a 2, could go to a 3. I don't think it's going to go back to a 4. Don't see the environment favoring a 4 now, getting that far north. But it could bounce around between a 2 and a 3 for sure. So that's the latest on this. It's a 2, and for another hour, new update will be in at that point. 110 miles per hour. Southwest of Bermuda now is the new marker, and so it's good. Anytime you get the identifier officially out for your community away from the islands when it lists where it's at, and it's not listing you, that's good. That means it's not you're not the closest one anymore. Now Bermuda is closest to the whole idea. But a lot of these rip currents, pretty wild, right? So many rescues along the beaches in the Carolinas and into Florida. All right, so there's the track. They do have tropical storm I believe it's watches that are out for the Outer Banks as it makes that turn to the north and northwest today. They're thinking it's going to go back to a 3. We'll see. I think it could fluctuate, absolutely, if we can get away from that little dry pocket, and then heads on out to sea after that. But I mentioned that we need to pay attention to what would be the one behind it. And I kept saying the name wrong yesterday. Fernon is the name of it, Fernon. Ryan hoaxes have to say it in French pronunciation. I took a year of French, but I don't think I could say that right. Anyway, Fernon, it's hard not to have a French accent when you say it, isn't it? Anyway, it's over here in this area, just again, in an area it's not overly prime yet to develop, but this is the path that I drew out. Let me take this full screen. I want you guys to see this. You can see where the path is that Erin's taken so far, but it has done what we call the churning of water or upwelling, where it's taken the water, the warmer water, and has used it up basically, so the colder water underneath comes to the surface. And I say colder in a loose term. It's still like bath water, but still cooler to impact the storm. And we'll see what happens if Fernan can move in that same exact path. There is some recovery there. All right, it's in the lower 80s. That may be enough. It's modest. Now, it's nothing like, you know, as you get toward the western side of the Caribbean, getting close to the Yucatan Peninsula. Look at that 87-degree water, and even in the Gulf, several spots in the upper 80s. So you don't want it there for sure. I mean, that would be rapid intensification zone for any tropical system if it were to pass through any of these two areas. But as of now, the likelihood is that it will pass through at least the similar path that Erin took, and as long as that holds, I think it's going to put a limit on what it can do. And let's hope that it turns and does the same thing, goes out to sea, and follows a similar path to Erin, and that would keep it in check the whole time. But if it wanders off its track, slows down a bit, or it gets pushed a little more into the southern parts of the Caribbean, then we may have a whole other ball game. Again, you don't want it in this area at all. And there's another one, as I mentioned, off the coast there of Africa. So we'll see. We'll see on that. Long-term stuff. So just want to update you guys on what we are watching as well. All right, so let me get into the long term since we're on that, and I'll get to some of your questions. What I decided to do on the Euro map here, I had it highlighted in blue. Obviously, the green areas are precipitation. I think you guys are aware of that. But the blue is where the cool blast of air, if you will, is impacting Canada and the lower 48. So we can track where does that go. So this weekend, it's all about lowering the humidity levels. Temperatures do drop a smidge, but still warm. We get into, let's see, here's Friday. Here goes Erin making its turn. Again, it will develop a large eye wall as it gets into the northern portions of the Atlantic. Its eye itself, I mean, it will look like a giant donut like Homer Simpson would be eating or something. So it will get a rather large eye to it as it gets further north and then turns out to sea. So it'll look pretty wild on satellite in the next few days. Okay, so we get into the weekend. A couple of dry fronts move in. Just don't think we're going to get much rain out of them, but here comes the drop in temperature showing up. Ooh, it's so close to us on Sunday, and then by Monday, there we go, it drops down and reaches all the way to at least wave country. And what does the blue mean? This is highs in the 70s, is what the blue indicates. 70 or lower are the highs. So even if you're not in that blue, you're still looking at lower 80s south of that line. Not bad. Not bad at all. And I was questioning yesterday whether or not this was going to be a large enough of a high, because it's a combination, a strong low pressure that's allowing for the dip behind it, and then a strong high west of it that takes over. And they both work together to try to maintain this idea for the eastern United States as long as possible. It looks like it could last a good 5 to 6 days, if not even a little longer. Mighty nice. The longer we can hold on to it, the safer we're going to be, because as we get further into September, it's going to be really hard to get back up into those 90s again. Sun angle is getting lower, and the average temperature is dropping rapidly, really from here on out. So summer's got a very tough fight ahead here with this kind of an upper air pattern like this as you enter the end of August and early September. I mean, it can fight back, but it's got quite the fight, because this is a large high that sits over us, and I just don't think it's going to be in a hurry to move. Now, there's a downside to that, as you probably think I'm going to mention, and that is this is not a rain setup. This is very similar to an Arctic blast in January, where we get down to 10 to 15 below zero, those wind chill alerts that are out, but very little in the way of snow. This kind of a pattern favors a dry setup for the Ohio Valley. Typically, all your showers and storms stay to the south and also around the upper low there into the Hudson Bay. The also interesting aspect of this is that if, say, Faranown were to try to move into the Gulf or somewhere from the southeast, it would encounter a very tough decision to make here, because it either will have to hook to the right or it will slow down and may try to just drift into Texas. But this high, this cold dome, and I use the term cold loosely, so someone's going to pick on me, but this dome of less hot air, is that better? That is our protector. As long as that is sitting there, yes, it keeps us dry and we may enter a drought, but it would keep any tropical system from causing problems. As soon as it moves out of the way, we are likely going to be open season for anything that can move in from the tropics that could impact our weather as we move into September. So I don't know which way it's going to go yet. I really don't. I'm still working on some of the longer term stuff. In fact, a lot of data for long term comes out today, but it's fair day, so I'm going to be kind of swamped looking at that and going to the fair, but I'll try to, again, that's why it's probably going to be next week before I can get that forecast out. But that's really, I think, my biggest battle I've got for me as a meteorologist to figure out the fall outlook is how does this pattern evolve into September and even parts of October. I see it repeating. So I don't think we're done with the cool shots of air. I just think we've got to be very careful of watching how it interacts with the tropics. I hope that makes sense. There's a little bit of ease there you see at the very end frame. This is on the 29th of August. It's still there, right? But it's losing its grip a little more. So again, we just got to keep an eye on areas down here to the south. All right, let me get right into, this is the humidity level. You guys know it's going to drop, so I didn't mean to put this map in. But hey, there you go. A lot of blue, even below the blue category. What's better than pleasant? It's higher than the pleasant category. I don't know, Goldilocks? I don't know, I have no idea. All right, let me get to some of your questions. Does a cooler fall mean a colder winter? Not necessarily, not necessarily. We've had warm spells. A lot of you guys remember in '93 we had warm weather in October, but then we had 2.4 inches of snow for Halloween, or the day before Halloween, the 30th. So, and then ended up with the '94 snowstorm that year in January. So it doesn't necessarily mean, it just means that when you get in a pattern that like this, where this is something that started really January, the second week of January, the setup I just showed you on the Euro, the long-term maps, that same scenario has been repeating since January. It hasn't been every single week, but it keeps repeating. So I have a feeling that will keep being the trend. If we go on that theory, then it could mean a cold winter, but it may not always necessarily mean snowy either, if we end up with a drier flow. So we'll see on that, Beccaria. But you're on the right train of thought. I'll let you know that at least. Hey, Ryan, if the next one goes through the Gulf, would it affect wave country? Well, I don't know that, but it would be more risk. If you can get into the Gulf, it would have to make a decision, but it really just depends on where the high is. But absolutely, it's always a risk when in the Gulf, as they're likely going to do the curve. Sometimes they curve into the Carolinas or the Appalachians. Sometimes they go way far west and go toward Missouri and Chicago. I've seen that happen since I've been here. That's happened in weekends. So it's always a risk when they get in the Gulf. Usually if we have Florida landfalls or the Bahamas or anything like that, it's rare that we have any impact directly. A Gulf system, though, is our biggest worry here. Yeah, I'm ready for some football and snow. At the same time, I think that's great. That's one thing I never hear complaints about, is when there is a football game on TV and there's a blizzard. People absolutely love that. They love that. Hey, Mark. Hope all is well, my friend. The forecast looks wonderful and perfect. Magnificent, cooler. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's going to be nice. Everyone's going to get, I'm telling you, what's the opposite of spring fever? Like fall fever? That doesn't make sense, does it? Maybe it does. Beaver fever? No, that's not it. Anyway, yeah, everyone's going to get really excited. Everyone's going to be walking through the neighborhoods. Everyone's going to be thinking about Halloween quickly, especially the cool nights and mornings. There are some signs that parts of Indiana may actually drop into the upper 40s next week, which would be pretty wild. But I'm not ruling it out. So it could be quite interesting. Pumpkin spice weather. Summer doldrums, yeah. I don't like the summer doldrums. This is the time of year that's like, it's tough. I'm hoping this will hold for like Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life. I really do. I hope this will be a good pattern for that. They had a really good first year. I think both events had awesome weather. It'd be nice if we could repeat that this year. But the tropics interfered last year, so I'm hoping they stay out of our business this year. Any other questions? Joel's like wanting some of that cool weather. Everybody share with Joel there. Fall fever. All right, we can do a fall fever. I like that. Autumn relief. Autumn relief is good. Pot of chili. Yeah, that's a thing, and you got to get ready for that pot of chili. No beans and spaghetti noodles. No macaroni. I know that is controversial. Am I going to go see Fish this year? I don't know. There's several bands I'd like to go see. I don't know which day to go. I haven't been before. Usually I'm always working. But with it being different this year, I'm sure you guys have heard, they placed it near Kentucky Kingdom instead of on the interstate side of the fairgrounds or the executive end area. It's on the other side. So I think that's going to be interesting, really, especially with Kentucky Kingdom opening with Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life at the same time. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a really cool layout, so I like to see it. If not, we have our SkyTrak cameras here. I'll just have to watch it from a distance. All right, guys, I'm going to stop rambling. You see the 10-day there. All right, 80s down to 90 this weekend. Again, don't worry about this heat for the rest of the week. Today's the worst of it. The heat and humidity combinations today. After that, yeah, near 90, but it won't feel bad. And then next week, ooh la la, it feels really, really nice. So something to look forward to here on this Tuesday. I hope to see you guys in a few hours at the State Fair. And if not, well, yeah, there's always next year, right? Take care, guys. Stay safe.